Bonjour à chaque.
Good afternoon, one and all. And thank you very much, Ekaterina. Thank you so much both for your kind words just now and for the very efficient and supportive work that the Bulgarian presidency has done throughout this sensitive time. I have been both touched and encouraged by the unanimous demonstration of trust and confidence I've had from the ministers in the General Affairs Council. I have shared that encouragement with my team, Sabine, and a few members of the task force, but also the Council Secretariat team, the Commission services upon whom I rely, and the standing group which works in Council 2 or 3 days a week on this. And I can certainly say the same thing for the team in the Parliament. I went to the Brexit steering group in Parliament this morning, as I do every week. And I get support and trust from all of them, and I'm very touched by that. And this is at a key moment in the process. As Ekaterina was saying, we had a last GSE meeting on the 27th of February. I came to this room and I said that we would be publishing a complete text for a withdrawal agreement. I said that this would allow us to make headway and make the negotiations with the UK easier. Time is very short, so we have to work on some legal basis, and that is what we have proposed. So we published that text, and 15 days after the publication of that full text, we of course had taken great care to feed into that text questions and comments, particular points made by member states and the European Parliament. And so 2 weeks after that original text was issued, we sent it for consideration by the UK, and we've had some very intense work with the UK, particularly over the weekend. I was with you yesterday, and I did thank the UK negotiators for their commitment, their willingness to cooperate, and their competence. Now, we've made considerable progress today because we have published a joint version of the document. Now, it's easier to read because there are 3 different colors: yellow, green, and white. Yellow, green, and white. So it's a tricolor version of the document. So this is a new version, a joint version of the withdrawal agreement document. Now, this has only been made possible because we've had very intense ongoing discussions, and it's been made possible because of the work that we've done jointly with the Member States and Council and the European Parliament. Now, that being said, we're not at the end of the road, as I said yesterday with David Davis in our joint press conference. I have some experience of these negotiations, although this is quite extraordinary and unique form of negotiation. But my experience is that the end of the road, the part that comes at the end, is often the most difficult. So we have to be very alert. We have to keep calm, work hard together in mutual respect, and seek solutions. Now, the governance of the withdrawal agreement is absolutely vital. It's a question of credibility. Now, we have secured governance on the financial settlement and on citizens and citizens' rights. However, there are all sorts of other subjects which are very important. Then there's the question of Ireland and Northern Ireland. We now have a clear commitment from the UK, and this has been confirmed by the letter from Theresa May. And they have committed to the idea of including a backstop solution in the withdrawal agreement, whatever happens. A commitment to work on the text of such a backstop over the weeks to come. Now, I'd just like to confirm that we're prepared to work at any stage on any better option that the UK may come up with. Now, over and above those 2 key issues where we do not yet agree, we also need to make headway on other subjects to do with this separation. And these are quite considerable issues. If you put them together, they all have their added value. and their value in the withdrawal agreement. Data protection, geographical indications, or the automatic recognition of court rulings. So these are the kind of issues we still need to thrash out. So we're going to press on over the next few weeks, and we'll be working on these issues with the member states and with the European Parliament, on whose behalf I am negotiating. Now, these matters of trust go beyond the mere issue of the withdrawal agreement itself. We've organized about a dozen seminars for internal work between member states and ourselves in the Commission team since January. We've been talking in these seminars about topics which will be part of a future partnership: security and defense, foreign policy, major issues, fisheries, services, aviation. We wanted to organize these seminars to have this collective ownership of these topics among the 27, which we felt was a key to our unity. And we've done the same thing with seminars preparing on these topics with the European Parliament as well. So this is how we're building a firm foundation for unity among member states. People have different sensitivities, different worries. They may be closer or further away or have different interests at stake with the UK. But that's perfectly normal. Among the 27 member states who sit at this table in this council we've been attending today, clearly they have different issues, but it's important that we feel collective ownership of how we deal with these topics. And then we come up with a common line. And I, as chief negotiator, will be faithful and scrupulously following those lines set out for me in the negotiations. And I must say that I was strengthened by the encouragement I had and my support from ministers today on this line of negotiation we've built up together. Now, on further discussions, given the UK's red lines, and they are the UK's, their red lines, not ours. For example, the UK Prime Minister has said on several occasions that when the UK leaves the EU, they also wish to leave the single market and quit the customs union. That's an example of the red line that the UK has set out. Now, it's on that basis that the European Council will be establishing these new guidelines. They will be taking stock of the result that David Davis and I submitted yesterday as well. Now, for these future guidelines, in the light of the UK's red lines, we're going to be thinking in terms of a future free trade agreement. What the guidelines say is that there are clear principles which are non-negotiable: the single market, the indivisible four freedoms, the integrity of the single market, and the total autonomy of decision-making of the 27. And we also should remember that it's not just a matter of trade with the UK, even if we want the trade under the best possible conditions and circumstances. There is the potential for cooperation for universities, research, Erasmus exchange programs, aviation. Obviously, there can be cooperation in judicial and police cooperation areas. And it is in our common interest to have a strategic partnership for defence and external security. These are all areas on which we can work. Now, the European Council will take charge of these guidelines. It is their responsibility. It is up to the European Council, too, to evaluate our agreement on the transition period and our text on the withdrawal agreement. So in parallel to the withdrawal agreement, on the basis of what the European Council says to me, we will continue to negotiate